Good evening, everyone. My name is Elise Tyler. I am a fourth-year English major and the co-president of Live Action UCLA. I am honored to serve as the moderator representing the pro-life side of tonight's debate. Thank you for taking the time this evening to engage in this important conversation. I would also like to extend my thanks to my co-moderator, Aiden Doyle, who will be representing Stephanie Miller's position in this debate. Before we begin, please note that there will be an open mic Q&A session at the conclusion of the debate. This will be an opportunity to ask any questions that you would like to ask either of our speakers, and we want to make sure that all students have the opportunity to ask whatever questions they have. There will be one microphone in the middle of our center aisle where students will begin lining up at the end of our debate. Please limit your question to one sentence, clearly phrased as a question that is related to the topic of tonight's debate, and refrain from making a statement or speech and remain respectful while doing so. The structure of tonight's debate is as follows. We will be exploring the question, should abortion be legal? We will begin with opening statements from each speaker. Next, there will be a period of cross-examination, where both speakers will have the opportunity to cross-examine one another. After that, each speaker will have a rebuttal period. Then we'll move into a brief period of moderator-led questions, where Aiden and I will ask the opponent one question each, followed by an unmoderated discussion between both speakers. After that, each speaker will deliver closing remarks, and finally, we will open the floor to the audience Q&A. During the debate, each speaker will also have up to 5 minutes of preparation time, which may be used at any point during their designated speaking time until their clock runs out. With that, it is my great honor to introduce our first speaker tonight, Lila Rose. Lila Rose is the founder and president of Live Action, a human rights organization dedicated to investigating and exposing the realities of abortion and changing hearts and minds as a leader of the digital age. With more than 8 million social media followers and over 3 billion lifetime video views, Lila is a leading voice in the modern pro-life movement. She founded Live Action in 2003 after starting a pro-life club at her high school, which she later brought to her alma mater, UCLA, as an official student organization. Under her leadership, Live Action has grown into a national leader in the pro-life movement through activism, campaigns, policy implementations, and educational outreach. Lila is also the author of Fighting for Life, Becoming a Force for Change in a Wounded World. Alongside serving as president of Live Action, Lila is the host of the Lila Rose Show, where she explores some of the most controversial issues of the day. She has addressed members of the European Parliament and spoke in front of the United Nations. Lila is not only a champion for the unborn, she's a leader in a cultural shift that brings hope to a world that is hungry for truth, compassion, and moral clarity. It is a privilege to welcome her to our campus tonight. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Lila Rose. At this time, I would like to hand it over to my co-moderator, Aiden Doyle, who will introduce himself and then welcome our second speaker for the evening.
Thank you, Elise, and good evening to everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Aiden Doyle, and I'm a fourth-year philosophy major here at UCLA. I'm honored to be participating in this event and facilitating an open and honest conversation between our two participants. Tonight, I have the privilege of serving as the moderator on behalf of the pro-choice position representing Stephanie Miller. Stephanie Miller is a comedian, political commentator, radio talk show host, and founder of the Sexy Liberal podcast, which unites entertainment with politics and invites prominent progressive podcasters in her content. Her talk radio show, The Stephanie Miller Show, is a nationally syndicated and hugely popular with more than 6 million listeners per week and 1 million followers on Facebook. Before becoming a national phenomenon, she had #1 ratings in KABC and KFI in LA and at stations in Chicago and New York City. She has been nominated to become a member of the Radio Hall of Fame in past years. Her Sexy Liberal comedy tour was sold out for 5 years, being the fastest-selling comedy tour in history for the first 2 years. From the tour, the album recording rose to #1 comedy album in the United States. She has been named the High Priestess of Excellent Liberal Talk by MSNBC's Rachel Maddow, and her 2015 memoir, Sexy Liberal of Me, I Sing, went #1 on Amazon in 3 categories. Stephanie Miller is unafraid to be bold and unapologetic for what she believes in. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Stephanie.
We We will now begin with our opening keynotes, starting with Lila Rose, who will have 8 minutes to speak, followed by an 8-minute keynote from Stephanie Miller. You guys may come up to the podiums for your keynote.
Good evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much to Stephanie and to Pam Seisner. Pam, I remember you from when I was a student over 15 years ago. It is really special to be back here on campus, and it was fun to discover that my esteemed debate opponent not only opposes me on the issue of abortion, but is from USC. So let's show her some grace. I was waiting for the marching band to show up for this rivalry today. If someone has a trumpet, they want to do some trumpeting in the back, I think that would add some spice and make it fun. But I'm really grateful to be here because we are here to debate this most important issue. It's an issue of justice. It's an issue of humanity. Should abortion be legal? Is the question before us today. Did you know that in California today, it is illegal to destroy a bald eagle's egg? It is also illegal to harm a sea turtle hatchling, and it is illegal to destroy a California condor's egg. Violating these laws is punishable by $50,000 or more per violation, and it can land you for up to 1 year in prison. But it is legal in California to end the life of a human child in the womb, even in the second and third trimester, even when that child could survive outside of the womb, as long as a doctor signs a form. We live in a state that protects birds and reptiles more than it protects preborn human children. That should stop us in our tracks. For most of American history, abortion was illegal in every state. It was acknowledged as the killing of a human life. Physicians opposed it, politicians from both parties opposed it, even feminists opposed it, the law opposed it. That all changed in 1973 with Roe v. Wade, which declared that an entire class of human beings could be excluded from legal protection. After that, millions of children lost their most basic human right, the most basic right that any society can recognize, which is the right to not be intentionally killed, the right to life. Since then, more than 63 million human lives have been snuffed out by abortion in the United States alone. 63 million lives. That is virtually the population, that's more than the population of California. Every year, 1 million American children are killed by abortion. In California alone, there are 180,000 children killed by abortion every year. These numbers are not abstract. They represent classrooms that never existed, families that were never formed. For some of us here tonight, siblings that were never born, known, or loved. That is the reality behind tonight's question. So when we ask, should abortion be legal, we're not talking about some rare theoretical tragedy. We are talking about the largest ongoing human rights violation in modern history. Abortion should not be illegal in California or across the world. Before we continue, let's define our terms. What is abortion? Abortion is the direct and intentional killing of a preborn human life. Abortion is not miscarriage. Abortion is not miscarriage treatment where a child has tragically passed away naturally in their mother's womb. Abortion is a procedure that is designed to do one thing, intentionally and directly take the life of a child. The case for why abortion should be illegal is simple. I present you this logical syllogism. First, it is always wrong to intentionally kill innocent human beings. Can we agree? It is always wrong to intentionally kill innocent human beings. Second, abortion intentionally kills innocent human beings. Third, therefore, abortion is wrong and should be illegal. Some people may disagree with the second premise, insisting that abortion does not kill an innocent human life because an embryo or a fetus is not yet a human life. But this defies reality. It's illogical. Science clearly shows us the biological reality of when a unique individual human life begins, fertilization. A new human organism comes into existence at sperm-egg fusion, which is fertilization. That child has his or her own unique DNA. It's how we all started our lives. This child only needs time and nourishment to grow. Even leading pro-abortion philosophers agree with this. Pro-abortion philosopher Peter Singer from Princeton University says, quote, "There is no doubt from the first moments of its existence, an embryo conceived from human sperm and eggs is in fact a human being. At 22 days from fertilization, the embryo's heart begins to beat. At 6 weeks, the child's brain activity can be recorded. By 7 to 8 weeks, the baby can hiccup and respond to touch. Our government has a sacred responsibility to safeguard fundamental human rights. As our Declaration of Independence states, we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life comes first. The simple reality is this: murdering preborn humans should be illegal for the same reasons that murdering born human beings should be illegal. Now, let me address feminism for a moment. We may be discussing this more throughout the debate tonight. My understanding is that my esteemed debate opponent identifies as a feminist. If feminism means equality under the law for both males and females, it must absolutely secure the rights of both males and females in the womb to be protected by law. But if my opponent's feminism means telling women that their fertility is a disease, that motherhood is a burden, that children in the womb are parasites, and that freedom, empowerment requires destroying your own offspring, then I reject that feminism completely. A culture that tells women that they can destroy their children to compete is not pro-woman, pro-human, or pro-child. I also want to speak personally about this campus, my alma mater. When I was a student here at UCLA, I investigated the Arthur Ashe Health and Wellness Center here, just a few steps from this building. It did not offer pregnancy support or parenting support for students, but they did offer free abortion. In addition, UCLA Medical School trains abortionists, training doctors to end human life instead of to save it. UCLA Medical School actually brags that after completing abortion training, they will place fellows at corresponding Planned Parenthoods to, quote, master functioning independently in a high-volume setting. A high volume of what? A high volume of human carnage, ending the lives of unborn humans. It does not train students how to stand beside a woman who may be afraid or struggling economically or with a medically complicated pregnancy and protect her and her child's life. This brings me great shame as a UCLA alum, and I encourage every student here to demand change. So, should abortion be legal? No, not if we acknowledge the science, not if we believe in basic human rights, not if we believe in equality. The measure of a society is how it treats its most vulnerable. Preborn children are the most vulnerable people in the world. They have no voice, they have no vote, they have no power, but they do have hearts that beat, they have fingerprints, they have futures, and they deserve the law's full protection. Abortion should be illegal. Thank you.
We will now move to Stephanie Miller's opening keynote.
Is this me? Okay, hi UCLA, how you doing tonight? Let me start by saying, fight on for all to see, our men fight on for victory. Who's with? No? I thought that would be such a winner. Listen, here's the thing, when I went to USC, we were good at football, now we suck, so who cares? Anyway, they're bad now. Okay, listen. I am delighted to be here tonight. Lila seems lovely. I've never met her before, but I am here to talk about the right wing, the Republican Party today, saying they are pro-life when they are pro-shooting a young mother in the face in Minneapolis and defending that. That is not a pro-life party. when they are for as many people getting as many guns as they possibly can so our kids can get slaughtered in schools, they are not a pro-life party. When they are for blowing up fishermen in boats with no evidence, maybe drug dealers, maybe not, that is a war crime, and that is not a pro-life party. The part you might not have known about me is my dad ran for vice president with Barry Goldwater in 1964. He was chairman of the Republican Party. He was a Republican congressman for 14 years from Buffalo, New York, where I'm from. My dad and Goldwater would not recognize this party today. Barry Goldwater was very outspokenly pro-choice and pro-gay rights on the Senate floor in the 80s. They would be appalled at what this party has become. This has become a pro-death party. It is not anything to do with pro-life. It is anti-choice. It is controlling women and controlling their body and controlling their choices. When my dad and Goldwater were in power, it was the small government party. Now they want to tell you what you can do with your bodies, who you can marry, who you love. I'm a gay woman. Barry Goldwater had a gay grandson. Again, very pro-gay rights on the Senate floor. The last time I debated a pro-choice, pro-life topic, I remember on CNN, I think it was Rush Limbaugh was, making fun of this woman that needed birth control pills, calling her a slut because she needed birth control pills to control her endometriosis. And, I remember going on and I had a caller to my talk radio show, a right-wing guy that said, "Oh, you liberal chicks, all you want is more free birth control pills." And I'm like, yeah, as a middle-aged lesbian, that's my main concern. I eat them all day like Skittles just to be safe. I mean, the arguments make no sense anymore to me as a rational human being. If you are pro-life, you cannot be in the right wing. You cannot be in the Republican Party today. You just can't. They will defend anything. And again, including ICE executing young mothers on camera, live, in the middle of the day for everyone to see. That's why there are people in every single city in this country and around the world protesting what just happened to Renee Good. So please spare me the pro-life rhetoric. Women should have the right to make their own choices. You should be able to do what you want with your body. You should be able to marry who you love. The government, my dad used to say on the campaign trail in 1964, the government's got one hand in everybody's pocket and the other hand in everybody's business. Well, you can be for lower taxes, but you can't say you're the small government party when you want the government to control women's bodies. So the only person I want to control my body is Gavin Newsom, and I'm gay. So listen, you guys are a tough crowd. Anyway, I am delighted to be here with Lila. She seems like a lovely person. I hope we can go back to a post-Trump era where we can debate issues and not say f and flip the finger to an auto worker like the President of the United States just did yesterday. That's not who we are. As Americans, we should be able to debate and disagree. He has made us our worst possible selves. He is a criminal. He belongs in prison. I hope that we can have a respectful debate after this person and this poison is out of our system politically.
Thank you for your opening remarks, Stephanie. We will now move directly into the 10-minute period of cross-examination, where Lila will cross-examine Stephanie for the first round. And Stephanie, if you would also like to take the podium, thank you so much.
Is there going to be a keg at any point? Is there booze? Or are we doing this sober?
We needed some wine up here. All right. So Stephanie, I have a question for you first to start.
Yes.
You had a lot of comments about the Republican Party, President Trump, et cetera. And I'm just going to say, listen, let's say we agree theoretically on everything politically, right? Do you think taking the life of a child in the womb is pro-life?
I think it should be a woman's choice. By the way, can I just say, I Googled Lila. I am 25 years older than Lila, so she is a stem cell compared to me. And wow, this is the toughest crowd I've ever played. I think you were like, can you get some old crone to be for the pro-choice? Can you get the old lady from the Titanic? But
here's,
you're like, can I debate a 65-year-old lesbian about, about pro-choice? No, I don't think it. I think women should be able to control their own choices in their own life.
Democrats. Let's just put it this way. I know pro-life Democrats. I know pro-life liberals. I know pro-life atheists. So, you know, what I said in my opening remarks, laying out this case for life, it's not tied to a political party. So let's set that all aside. We can have that debate with someone else that wants to debate that. But
Democrats largely are for choice. And
it's very unfortunate.
Republicans are largely for anti-choice.
They didn't used to be. Democrats used to be pro-life. Remember Jesse Jackson? He used to say abortion is killing a baby. They used to all be pro-life. That flipped in the last 40 or so years. So it's a big tragedy in my view, because Democrats used to be for the little guy. Now they're saying, let's kill the little guy and give all your money to Planned Parenthood, who kills hundreds of thousands of little guys every year. So my question for you is, if you knew with certainty, Stephanie, that there was a living human child in the womb, would you still support the right to kill that child through abortion?
I don't believe, I believe it is, I don't believe it's a child. I think that there, again, we can debate the late term and this and, you know, length of time and all of that. I just don't think it should be a choice between anybody but a woman and her doctor.
What you say you don't?
I mean, again, if you don't believe in abortion, don't have one. If you don't believe in gay marriage, don't marry someone of your own sex.
So you say,
but you don't believe other Americans should have that choice?
So you say you don't believe it's a child in the womb. What is it if it's not a child?
I think depending on what point it's at, it's cells.
What kind of cells? What kind of cells?
Is this a gotcha question?
No, it's a very sincere question. You're saying abortion's okay.
I would feel like this would be a more authentic debate if Republicans wanted to do anything to help children or to help that we have the worst maternal rate. We have the worst child care system. We have the worst. Trump has just cut funding for children. It's you love the fetus, but you hate the child. You don't want to do anything to support women that have children.
I don't think you know much about my other public policy positions, it sounds like. So I'm
not talking about you. I'm talking about your party as a whole.
I'm not Trump. I'm Lila Rose. You're here to debate me, right?
No, you are way more attractive than Trump.
So let's focus on that. But let's go back to what is.
You don't have a neck vagina. Let's start with that.
Because you're saying it's not a child. You're saying it's not a child, so it's okay to kill it. And I'm asking you, what is it? And you're saying cells. Well, guess what? You and I are made of cells, right?
Right.
What is the life in the womb? Is it a life, would you say?
Lila, you know as well as I do, for a long time, it is not viable outside of a woman. So it is not, you can't say, you know, I'm just saying, I get that this is what you guys always say. Like it's a fully formed, viable person that could live outside the womb, and that is not the case.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm asking you, what is it in the womb?
Do you think it's proper rhetoric that Donald Trump says that Democrats like to kill the baby after it's born? Does that happen anywhere? Does infanticide happen anywhere? Except maybe in the Epstein files, and I think Trump was behind that. Let's
ask a different question then. Is a human less valuable because they are less developed or because they are dependent or small? Does that make them less valuable?
I don't believe that it's a human being.
If they're not a human being, what are they?
If it is not viable outside the woman's womb, the woman should have the choice over her own body. She's not like a host organism.
If a woman is pregnant with a male unborn child, does the woman have a penis?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
If the woman is pregnant with a male unborn child, does the woman have male DNA, and eventually does the woman have a penis?
Okay, Now
You said it's the body. You just said it's her body.
If she's
She can do
pregnant
what
with a
she
male
wants.
fetus.
Yes.
Does who have a penis? I'm
The
sorry.
baby, is that, does the...
I'm sorry, I'm a lesbian. When someone says penis, I just stop listening.
Is the
but-
baby in the womb the woman's body? I don't think so. Right?
I'm so. Wait, what are you asking? If
Is the baby in the
child is
womb-
male as opposed to female, what?
You're saying that the baby in the woman's body is her body. So if a woman is pregnant with a male baby, is the woman now part male because she has a male body parts and male DNA in her? Is that her body? No, right? You can just say no.
I'm completely. UCLA must teach better science than USC because I don't really know what the you're talking about. I have to be honest.
Well,
I don't really know what you're.
If you don't acknowledge that human life begins before birth, then I can see.
I don't think human life
begins.
begins at. I mean,
When does human
does
life
it
begin? Here's
begin
a
when the
question.
male has an orgasm? Is that what you guys think?
When does human life begin, in your view?
Okay. Listen, we can have philosophical debates
No,
all day long.
it's not.
It
I'm
comes
actually asking
down
from a
to
scientific
does a woman
perspective.
have choice over her own body or not?
But I agree.
Are you
Stephanie,
saying
we agree.
is
I
this
think we
Handmaid's
have-
is this Handmaid's Tale? Are we saying the moment, the second of conception, the woman's body becomes the property of the state, and the government gets to decide
No.
from that moment on?
No. Here's
What-
another
what are you
question.
saying?
When you have a newborn.
So you're saying a woman
When-
is not entitled to an abortion?
When you'll ask me because you'll have cross-sex here in just a moment.
Okay.
When a woman has a newborn baby, a newborn that's totally dependent on her, should she have the right to take the life of that newborn baby?
Of course not.
Why?
That's infanticide.
Why? Why shouldn't she? What if that-
Because it is viable outside her body.
Why is viability define your value and your human rights?
Because it is viable outside the woman's body.
Why?
Before
Why does
that,
that
it is
define your
part of
human
the
rights?
woman's body, and it should be, therefore be her choice.
Why does viability define your human rights? Your ability to breathe and live outside of the womb. Why does that define
what
your
is
human rights?
do you think the second of conception that the government should take over? Is that what you're saying?
From the moment of fertilization, a new human life comes into existence. They are a human being. They deserve human rights. Yes.
So you don't believe in a morning after pill? Do you believe in contraception? Do you believe
Anything that intentionally takes the life of an innocent being. Well, let's get that in your cross-sex. Those are great questions. You definitely ask me those in your cross-sex. My question is this. When a child is totally dependent, newborn baby, needs other people, is dependent on the bodies of other people, does that child still have a right to life in your view? Does it have a right to live?
Of course, I already said that. Of
if
course,
you're-
a baby.
What's the difference between that newborn baby and then minutes earlier, when that baby's in the womb, do you support ending the life of that baby, the right to end the life of that baby? Minutes earlier. Because they're in a different location, also dependent, but in the womb.
First of all, this is such a right-wing trope
No,
that
it's
there's
not.
all these late-term abortions. Unless there is a severe problem with the health of the mother and or the baby,
So
that's the only time doctors do late-term abortions.
So I'm
It is
asking
not,
you what you
women,
think should be legal.
women don't at 8 months go, oh, I changed my mind. That's not happening, Lila, and you know it.
We're debating abortion's legality. Do you support a cutoff for abortion at any point?
Yes, we already have that.
What's the cutoff
We
you
already
support?
have that.
What's your position? What's the cutoff you
as
support?
a lesbian, I'm not really an expert in exactly the gestation period, but we have those
Well, you're
laws.
here to defend
we have
abortion.
those laws in many states.
So what do you stand?
Donald Trump ran on complete lies that all
I'm not
Democrats
Donald
are for
Trump. Let me
killing the
remind
baby
you.
even after it's been born. That's just dishonest and it's Lila.
Stephanie, what's
and
your
you should acknowledge that Donald Trump lies about everything,
Should there be
including abortion.
Stephanie, should there be any illegal abortions in your view? Should all abortions be legal at any point of pregnancy, or should it be illegal at any point?
There is no reason for a late-term abortion except for the health of the mother or the baby.
Okay, that's great. So do you think it
Doctors
should be
and
illegal?
mothers aren't doing that. They
do you
aren't
think it should be
changing their
illegal?
mind late-term. It is because there are do you feel like a teenager in sepsis that should be forced to give birth? I mean,
Okay.
this is what's happening in America.
Let's ask this question. Do you think it is ever acceptable to intentionally kill an innocent human life?
Of course not.
Okay.
Well,
What if they're in the
you got a
womb?
lot. You got a
What
lot
if
of
they're
shit
in
to
the womb?
defend from the Trump administration. Then, if you don't think it's
I'm not here
okay
to
to
defend
kill
the
an
Trump administration.
innocent human life,
What about
do you
if in
think
their
Renee
womb?
Good was a domestic terrorist? Do you think she should have been
You can ask me
extinguished?
that in your
And her
process if you like.
6-year-old
Thank you,
and her
guys.
2
That's
other
all the time
children?
we have.
Do you think they should have been orphaned?
Are we moving to?
Thank you, guys. That's all the time we have.
Oh, thank God.
Now we're going to move into Stephanie's 10-minute period to cross-examine Lila on her view.
I've got no questions. Where's the wine?
You had questions. You can keep going.
No, I'm kidding.
You had questions.
No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, honestly, Lila, you
I'm not here to
seem like a
defend-
decent human. I do not know how anyone that pardon me, is for life can defend anything that this Trump administration has done. How do you stand there and say I'm pro-life and I am a GOP, I am a Trump voter?
Okay, I don't, just to be clear, Stephanie, the resolution we both agreed on tonight is not whether or not you should vote for Trump, you should be GOP.
But you can't divorce it from each other.
You should and you can, actually, because if all you see when you think about this issue is politics, that's a problem. I think Democrats and Republicans or independents should ask themselves the question, should abortion be legal?
I'm asking
illegal?
you what's
And that's
happened
the
to your
question-
party. Why is my father's running mate, Barry Goldwater? Barry Goldwater's daughter co-founded Planned Parenthood. Barry Goldwater was very pro-choice. What's happened to your party, to the Republican Party, that they've become the big government party?
Well, on the Republican Party standpoint, I have disappointments with both the Republican Party and certainly the Democrat Party for a failure to protect life. So again, I know you're not.
But is that your only issue?
But the Democrats used to be pro-life. Jesse Jackson used to be pro-life. Okay. That was a standard thing. Now,
okay, you're mentioning one person. I'm mentioning an entire party that has become pro-death.
Most Democrats were pro-life back in the day. Back in, you said you're older than I am.
Okay, I gotta say,
back in the day,
UCLA, I don't understand how anybody your age is anti-choice. I honestly just don't. I know you're defending some sort of old version, I don't even know what to say. I'm telling you, I come from a very Republican family, and they were not for big government. They were not for telling women what to do with their bodies or who you can marry.
If you're pregnant with twins, right? Are those twins, one boy and one girl, let's say, do you now have 3 bodies? I'm just curious. Do you see that as the woman has 3 bodies now? You keep saying your body.
I get that you figured out all these questions in advance. What does that have to do with anything? Whether if you have twins,
well, it sounds like
if your male baby has a penis,
it sounds like your position is abortion is totally fine. Let me correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like your position, Stephanie, is abortion's totally fine.
Nobody is pro-abortion, Lila. Nobody wants to have an abortion. It should be the woman's choice. Nobody's like, woohoo! I'm having an abortion.
Why?
It is a woman's choice. And by the way, the only answer to why you're having an abortion should be none of your business. There could be a million of different reasons why. It's not our business. It's not our body.
I have more questions, but I'm going to save it for the discussion because I know technically it's your cross-ex. Do you have more questions?
No,
I'm going to try to save
I'm good.
Should we move to
let's do
open discussion? Or should we keep going on cross-ex, or what should we do next?
Thank you. For the cross-examination period, we'll move into the 5-minute rebuttal period by each speaker, which involves a 5-minute speech or counterpoint, beginning with Lila, following with Stephanie.
Thank you. All right, well, I will share some thoughts here. First of all, it sounds like there are a lot of concerns that my debate partner has about politics and political parties. And while I can empathize with a lot of those concerns, and we may even have more agreement than we may realize on some of them, we came here to debate the question, should abortion be legal? And we asked during cross-examination, what is the life in the womb? And we heard a couple answers. One of them was it's cells, and another one was it's the woman's body. Well, we know, according to science, when human life begins, at sperm egg fusion, at the moment of fertilization. You can have another debate about should that human life then have human rights, but we know when human life begins. And we know what those cells make up. Those cells are not just like your skin cells, cells from your other part of your body, stem cells, some random stem cells. These have unique individual genetic identity. A little boy or a little girl with thousands of characteristics, traits that are already determined, eye color, hair color, skin tone, so many other traits. And all that this single cell embryo needs at the moment of fertilization is time and nourishment to grow. This is a life distinct from the mother, although totally dependent on the mother. And this is another point that Stephanie raised, which was, well, it's the mother's body. It's dependent on the mother. It's the mother's body. This life is distinct from the mother's body. But yes, this life is dependent on his or her mother. That is a fact. We all came into this world completely dependent. That is a fact. And many of us will leave this world. If we leave this world sick or very elderly with disabilities or other conditions, we will also leave this world dependent. But our dependency on other people doesn't diminish our humanity. It doesn't. It shouldn't take away our human rights, certainly not our human right to life. In fact, I would argue, and I would say that at least the old school Democrat Party that I remember back in the day, we would argue that you should care about the dependent. You should care about the weak. You should care about the little guy, the person that is disenfranchised and has no voice. We should care about them. So I would urge my debate opponent to care about children and to stop looking at...
Yes, I would like the Epstein files released.
And to stop,
does anyone else care about children here?
Just a reminder
And just to
that
finish
this
my
is
speech.
Lila's 5-minute rebuttal period.
And to stop limiting, having this myopic view of women. That somehow, I mean, I understand this was the feminism of the 1970s and 60s, and the early feminists were pro-life, and then the second, third wave showed up, and they're like, abortion. Abortion does not empower. Killing your babies, ladies, is not going to make you happier. It's actually going to destroy an innocent life. It's going to be a moral blight on your own soul, and it's going to leave a whole lifetime of joy and meaning and relationship that would otherwise have been possible, now impossible, because of that irreversible life or death decision that was made. We cannot be empowered by crushing the heads of our children. That is not real original feminism, even though it's been hijacked and that's now modern feminism. That is the opposite. That is trampling on the rights of the weak. And I have to remind you that half of the children killed in the womb are little girls. And that gendercide has been a huge crisis in places like China and India and even parts of the US, where little girls are targeted just for the fact that they're little girls in the womb and killed via abortion, and then some of them via infanticide. And so it's clear, if we believe it's wrong to kill innocent human life, and we know human life doesn't begin magically at birth or magically when the baby can survive in NICU, but that human life begins when a human life comes into existence, then we have to do what is just and moral and reject abortion. And then we can focus on the positive stuff, the stuff that it sounds like you care about a lot, Stephanie, the stuff like, let's make the world better for women, for men, for families, for children. Let's improve our social system and our safety net. Let's improve our politics. Let's make our country a friendlier and more moral place. But in order to do that, we have to ban abortion.
So, Lila, do you agree?
We cannot allow the murder of human beings if we want to have a just and loving society. Thank you.
Lila, so you say we shouldn't talk about this in the lens of politics. Do you agree with Donald Trump when he said before the election that the woman should be punished? The woman should be punished for having an abortion.
I think that if a woman intentionally, with full knowledge, pursues an abortion, yes, there should be criminal.
A woman should be punished. Okay, great. Okay,
and it's not
good.
just a woman, by the way. This is important. It's not sex-based. This is important. It's not sex-based. If you, whether you're a man or a woman, pursue the killing of anyone with intention and full knowledge, there should be penalties for that.
Thank you, guys. Now we're going to move into Stephanie's 5-minute rebuttal.
Lila, it is impossible to have any discussion today without the lens of politics. You cannot say you're the party that cares about children when you're the party blocking the release of the Epstein file and protecting child rapists, including Donald Trump. There is only 1% of the Epstein files that have been released, and it has been heavily redacted, and Trump is still all over what we've seen. You cannot tell me you care about children in this lens when everybody from the president on down to everyone on Fox News is defending a young mother getting shot in the face in Minneapolis. You just can't. We can't have a discussion. Let's not talk about politics. Donald Trump is your president. That is your pro-life right-wing party that thinks women should be punished, whether it's shot in the face for, I don't know, doing what? Being disrespectful to an ICE agent, I guess, is what their argument is. And again, we're giving women no help. once they have a child in this country. Pediatric cancer research has been cut, so we have more money for ICE agents to shoot you in the face if they don't like how you talk to them. So we cannot have a discussion about life. It cannot be whittled down to just abortion in the face of this current Republican Party. You have got to vote all of them out in the midterms. You have got to put this version of the Republican Party into the dustbin of history if we ever want to have debates again about things as human beings. This president is a war criminal. He's a child rapist. There is no way to justify all of these hypocrites in your party. Do you care about all of them that have been found to paid for abortions? The hypocrites in the Republican Party that have paid for abortions for their mistresses. I mean, the hypocrisy is staggering. It is gut-wrenching. It is just nausea-inducing today. So, you know, while I respect your beliefs, I don't know where they came from exactly. I don't know how you came to them. I feel like we need more Chardonnay to have that conversation. But, you know, I think you're talking about like feminine. That seems like an old word because I get that I'm old. But it's not a feminist thought to say women should have bodily autonomy. Women should have the right to a lot of, not just that choice, a lot of choices. And that's where I stand. All right.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you for that one clap.
Thank you both for that period of cross-examination and rebuttals. Now we will move into our brief moderator-led discussion where Aiden and I will each ask the opponent one question, beginning with Lila.
Lila, first of all, thanks again for being here. In a democratic society, based at least in part on rights, it's my understanding that we have certain rights which should not be impinged upon by the government. To me, two of those rights would be the right when to choose when to start a family, and to choose whether you want to carry a child in your stomach. Sometimes, somebody may argue that we voluntarily choose to give up certain rights. Like when we commit a crime, we voluntarily choose to give up the right to movement. When, as some may argue, we choose to have sex without a contraceptive, you give up the right to choose when to start a family. However, why should women who have not voluntarily chosen to give up their right when to start a family, for example, if they are raped, why should they not have that right when to choose to start a family or whether to carry a child in their womb? Why, in your view, should there be a system in which people cannot voluntarily choose to give up rights, but are forced to give up rights which, as I believe, and I think many people believe, are fundamental to their livelihood?
Yeah. So it sounds like there's two parts of your question. I'm going to address them both. So first of all, when it comes to sexual violence, a baby conceived in sexual violence, horrific, right? We agree it's horrific. The child still is a child. Everybody in here, in this room, you don't know how each person here was conceived, but you're all here equal. You all have the right to life. The circumstances of someone's conception doesn't determine their value, period. So if you're conceived in sexual violence, you still have a right to live. You're here, you have a right to live and to not be killed. Now, when it comes to women have the right to choose when they start their family, of course, I actually 100% agree with that. I think that's really important. Back in the day, Margaret Sanger, who started Planned Parenthood, she wanted there to be basically licenses that families would have to get from the government to start a family. She wanted there to be this two-child policy. You'd have to get a permit. You couldn't just have a baby, you needed a permit. I think that's absolutely ridiculous and wrong. You should have the right to fall in love, to marry, to start a family. But once a baby is there, your family has already begun, whether you chose the exact timing or not. And that human life needs love and protection and deserves life just like anybody else.
Sorry, I just want to clarify. So even in cases of rape and incest, the woman should be, or child, should be forced to carry the child, like in Handmaid's Tale?
The child has a right to life regardless of how they're conceived. If a woman is a victim of sexual assault or abuse, she needs care and support. The rapist should be behind bars. There needs to be justice. but we're not going to solve the crime of a
So
rape.
the rapist gets to choose the mother of his child.
No, what the rapist should do is go in jail for life. That's what the rapist should do. But in this country, we don't even give the rapist the death penalty. Did you know that? It's against federal law. Why should the child be given the death penalty for the crimes of his or her father?
Thank you, Lila, for your answer. Now, Alex will ask Stephanie his question.
Hi, Stephanie. Has the normalization of hookup culture made it easier to separate sex?
What culture? Sorry.
Hookup culture. Made it easier to separate sex?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Hookup.
Hookup culture.
Oh, hookup culture, sorry.
Yes.
I'm super old.
No,
That
it's
means
okay.
having sex with someone you just met, right, kids? Okay, good.
Has it made it easier to separate sex from responsibility and by extension, pregnancy from parenthood?
Sorry, you're gonna have to say that again. Has hookup culture?
Has the normalization of hookup culture made it easier to separate sex from responsibility and by extension, pregnancy from parenthood?
Well, here's something we have in common. I was raised Catholic. You're Catholic now, right?
That's awesome. I was not raised Catholic.
Oh, okay, but you
So
were
we actually don't have that
evangelical.
in
Now you're
common.
Catholic.
But now I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
I became Catholic at UCLA.
Listen, I did 12 years hard time.
You should come to Mass with me. Let's do
Are
it.
you? Used to be a practicing Catholic, then I got so good at it I went professional, so I don't practice anymore. But I was raised Catholic, so I have to be honest with you. My mom and my sister, my oldest sister, were both virgins when they got married. I was a virgin for a long time because I didn't know I was gay. I had boyfriends when I was younger, so I actually take intercourse very seriously, and I did in my family. Intercourse to me was always different because you could produce a child. I mean, let me just say I did everything but. Anyway, kids, but my point is, I did get the difference that you could produce a child, and that's why it was different. So.
But it's not a child.
I'm not
till it's born.
unacquainted to what I'm saying is I was raised like that, and so I understand what you're saying. So I never engaged in hookup culture or had. I mean, listen, I don't judge anybody, but and I don't know what you guys can tell me what the climate is now at college. I don't know. How much rampant sex there is. I didn't do it, even when I was but everyone at USC is ugly. So I'm kidding. I knew that would get a laugh, though. So I don't know. I don't know what the culture is now. But I certainly always took it seriously, and I've never done hookups. I've always taken making love very seriously. But what are you doing later? Okay.
Thank you for your answer. We are now going to move into our period of unmoderated discussion between Lila and Stephanie. You both may begin.
I'm so going to pull her weave out. Oh, my
we
God.
go.
This is so going to be desperate UCLA
Stephanie,
housewives.
Here's a question for you. If, let's just say, we agreed on virtually all politics, we were agreeing on all the other issues. You brought up a ton of these other political issues. Let's say we agree. Could we agree on abortion? Would you be willing to become pro-life and oppose abortion with me?
Here's the thing. I think part of the problem in our politics, maybe not now, back when, everybody became a one-issue voter, right? Like, that's the only issue that mattered. I just think as human beings,
So if Gavin
there's a
Newsom-
lot of issues that are important. No,
If Gavin Newsom became pro-life,
I
would you
will
vote for
never.
him?
I will never. I mean, we might agree on a bunch of other things, Lila. I am never going to agree with you that the government should control women's bodies. I'm just not. We just don't agree on this issue.
Should the government control parents of newborns' bodies to ensure that parents of newborns can't kill their newborn?
Well, again, we stopped being able to have honest discussions when Donald Trump ran on
Forget Donald for a
repeatedly
minute.
saying that Democrats
talking-
want you to be able to
talk
kill
about
your
Donald,
baby
forget
after
him.
it's born, and that people routinely kill their baby after it's born. How can you have an honest
Not
conversation?
Trump. Lila,
How can
let's
you have an
talk.
honest conversation?
All right, listen.
This is the
Stephanie.
leader of your party. Do you
Stephanie.
believe that doctors and women are killing babies after they're born? That's what Donald Trump ran on.
Actually, we've done investigative reporting at Live Action. where abortionists
I think
have-
it's deeply
Can I just- let
dishonest.
me
I
finish
think
this.
it's deeply
This will
dishonest.
blow your
What
mind.
you and
Stephanie,
James O'Keefe
listen.
do is deeply
This has nothing to do with
dishonest,
James O'Keefe.
and you
Listen.
should be ashamed of what James O'Keefe does. It is
Stephanie,
deeply dishonest.
Can you let me answer? We've done, separate from James O'Keefe, we've done investigative reporting of late-term abortion clinics.
That's
where
not
the staffers-
investigative reporting.
Can I share with you? Well, where the staffers told us that sometimes the baby is born alive in these abortions that they do, and they either let the baby suffocate to death or they will put the baby in a jar of liquid to drown. We actually have that on tape, and I recommend you go check it out. So infanticide absolutely happens in late-term abortion facilities.
Babies are born severely compromised and deformed and are suffering, and they
So if
don't.
they're
they
disabled,
don't.
you should be able to kill them? Is that what you're
not
saying?
kill them.
Put them in a jar of
so
water to
you want
suffocate them?
you want to keep them alive and let them suffer as long as possible?
Are you telling me that if somebody has a disability, they shouldn't be given recitation?
Are
and
you
medical
saying a
treatment?
child that is not able to live
That's not who I'm
should just
talking
be
about.
what?
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about babies born alive after abortion attempts that were left to die.
What
or
is the
killed.
percentage of when that happens, Lila? Can you be honest about that?
There are-
What's the percentage?
According to the government's own numbers, it's in the tens of thousands that late-term
That's
abortions
bull-
happen.
that's
No,
complete
the government's numbers.
Bull-
Tens of thousands of abortions
Calling
in the later
bullshit.
trimesters.
Okay.
That's just a fact. It is. So here's the thing. I know we keep talking about politics, and that's fine. We can talk about politics. But would you say that a person who is has very young children and they injure their very young children, should the government get involved? Should the big government get involved?
I'm sorry. Once again, these are bullshit arguments.
Why?
They just are, Lila.
Why?
You know they're not in good faith because, of course, who doesn't agree with that?
So what's the difference
You
in your
keep
view?
trying to drag
But
everything into abortion.
But we're trying to follow. I'm trying to see your logic here. What's the difference? We are debating abortion tonight. What's the difference between a born child and an unborn child? In your view?
One can exist outside the mother's body and the other can't. You know the.
But why does that-
Lila,
why does that determine the value?
you're making it like you've never heard a viability argument. Like you're just
I've
like
heard
it
that. I'm
doesn't
trying to
exist.
understand your logic behind it. Why you think that is the reason that one should be protected and one shouldn't? Because the newborn baby is totally dependent.
Desperately hoping this is vodka. Oh, it's not. It's still water. Okay. Oops. Sorry about that. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I totally ruined your table. Lila. I just,
A newborn baby is totally dependent, right?
You know the arguments you're making are disingenuous. You know that nobody here thinks that, people should be able to
Stephanie, it just
harm.
sounds like you're dodging a lot.
They're young, they're the toddlers or infants after they're born. You know that. That is a totally different argument than should the government
it's the same
force
human
women.
life
Do
before and
you
after
care if you're pro-life? Do you care about all the women dying of sepsis because they aren't able in certain states to get abortions? Do you care that they're forcing women to miscarry, to bleed out before they get medical care? Does that concern you at all in your pro-life party?
We've done analysis of some of those cases where ProPublica has claimed that people didn't get medical care because of pro-life laws, and that's completely false.
Oh, I see.
There's not a single
all
pro-life
that
law
research is wrong.
that prevents children
but all
from-
your
or
bullshit
mothers from
James
getting
O'Keefe
care.
gotcha videos are correct.
No, it's true. There's not a single pro-life law that prevents mothers from getting miscarriage care or medical care. So there's a lot of fear-mongering that goes on because people are trying to justify legal abortion. And
Lila,
that's
there
what they
is
try to
story
that's
after
what they try to
story.
push.
We're not making up
here's how the
people
story
that are
runs out.
getting sepsis and bleeding out because they
I've
can't.
actually interviewed some of these stories, like Ryan from Texas, who said I actually did 2 different interviews with him. He never published them, which is interesting, where he said, my wife had to go to the emergency room. She was denied an abortion. He has this whole story, right? We actually look at his story, and what we discover is that he went to an ER where they're not equipped to do the procedure that can remove a baby after the baby has passed, right? So that would not be an abortion procedure. If there's a miscarriage and the baby has already passed, removing the baby is not illegal in Texas or any pro-life state because there's no heartbeat, the baby has passed, right? So he went to, this is an example of one of the cases you're referencing. This couple went to an urgent care and they said, we want to have an abortion and we want medical care for this mother who's miscarrying. There was no heartbeat. And he says, we were denied an abortion because Texas is pro-life. What really happened, Stephanie, to set the record straight here, is that urgent care wasn't equipped to do the procedure anyways. And so he's blaming them for incompetency, but that's anywhere in most states, right? And then when he got to the hospital, they have a wait and see method. Because sometimes when you're miscarrying, you'll just pass naturally. They didn't want to go to intervention right away. That happens in California, a pro-abortion state. So a lot of these cases, there's misinformation where people get confused over what's actually going on.
We would be here all night if you're going to cite your one case that you think proves
give me
this.
a case.
I
Give me an actual case.
I can cite you 20
Give me
more
one.
cases
Let's talk about
of
one.
women bleeding out, of
Give me
women
a
having
case.
sepsis. I just
Give me one
cannot
specific
believe you're
case.
justifying letting a teenager that's been raped bleed out of sepsis.
Give me a case, a
because
real
of
case,
your
Stephanie.
crazy, extreme anti-choice positions.
Give me one case.
Oh. Lila,
You said you have dozens of them or tons of them. Give me one specific
Oh my
case.
God,
Real
Lila,
world case.
I've talked about over the years many of them on my radio show.
Let's do one.
I didn't bring them all tonight
I just
because
need
I'm
one.
not here. I'm not here to go tit for tat with you. Honestly, people know this. But do you have I don't know, an opinion on
So you
why
have
the
no
vast
cases.
majority of
You
the
don't have a
American
case.
people are pro-choice still? Because they see what's happening.
And Stephanie, I would argue a lot of people are pro-choice because there's a lot of propaganda on radio shows, social
It's
media,
not propaganda.
TV shows
they think
that are
women should have
misleading people.
choice. It's not
They're misleading
propaganda.
people. Yes, it is. You're saying there's all these cases, you can't name one, claiming that somehow abortion is medically
it's
necessary.
like people said they were for, mass deportation when they voted for Donald Trump. They are hugely against this. They're like, not like this. And now they're seeing, the what do you call it? I guess the results of Roe v. Wade being overturned, and it is horrific, and people are hugely against it in this
So,
country.
did you know-
so I
did you know
appreciate
that in
you're. I
California-
appreciate you're trying to indoctrinate young minds into your virulent anti-choice rhetoric, but young people aren't buying it. Maybe the people in here, because this is a anti-choice event that you're hosting, that I'm the liberal punching bag for. I get that. I get that this is an anti-choice crowd, but you are losing the battle generationally and for hearts and minds, and you know it. And that's why you're doing this.
There's actually an uptick in Gen Z that's pro-life. They're going to church more. They're becoming more interested in protecting human rights.
I'm not sure going to church and being a good person these days. This is the most anti-Christian version of the Republican Party I've ever seen on every subject. What does the main thing Jesus say? Welcome the stranger. Is that what you're seeing from ICE agents? Is that what you're seeing? A disabled woman got pulled out of her car today in Minneapolis. A disabled woman, window smash, pulled out of the car, just trying to get to the doctors. These are all American citizens. So please.
You should listen to my podcast, Stephanie, because I actually talk about
what did I do wrong that I would have to...
I actually talk about my concerns with some of ICE's enforcement policy. So,
well, good.
Here's the thing. We may agree on a lot of things, right? Coming just on some political issues. But we both agreed tonight to address something that I think is of paramount importance. You said, well, there's so many issues. We're killing 1 million American children every single year. That death toll outnumbers any other human rights issue, political issue, deaths by ICE, deaths by anybody. Abortion is 1 million.
See, I was going to make a joke that I'd rather have a colonoscopy than listen to your podcast, but I won't say that. I was going to make that joke, but now I like you too much.
You might agree, but that's why we're here. This is not just, it's another issue and whatever. It's 1 million lives.
Okay. Well, we disagree.
We don't. But that's a fact, that it's 1 million lives killed by abortion every year. Planned Parenthood, that's Planned Parenthood's number. Did you know that?
Have you watched Handmaid's Tale? Literally, one of my friends was like, have you watched Handmaid's Tale? I'm like, for entertainment? Aren't we living in it? Why do you think all these women are dressed like handmaids at all these protests all over the country? Because Americans are not for this. They're not for this. They don't want to go back to pre-Roe v. Wade days. It is, it is just barbaric. It really is. We're back to coat hanger days, and it is tragic.
Earlier you were saying something about how women don't wake up.
You're not going to stop abortion, Lila. How are you going to stop rich women from getting abortions? Do you have a plan for that?
There's a lot of women that decide that they regret their past abortions, and they go around, and I know I've interviewed hundreds of them, and they go around now and they encourage other people not to have abortions. And there are women, as we speak, across the country who are considering abortion, who are going to choose life. So this is not done. This has just begun. Every single life we're fighting for matters. And I get up and give 1,000 speeches.
How are you going to
for the
stop
sake of
rich
life.
women from getting abortions? You're not going to ever stop
This
abortion.
is not a rich or poor issue. It's an everyone issue. It's not just about the rich or the poor.
You're going to sentence a lot of poor women to death. That's what you're going to do. So that's not pro-life either.
Are you saying abortion saves lives? Is that your position?
I'm talking about the women that are bleeding out and having sepsis and aren't able to get abortion care. You know,
You don't bleed out from not getting abortion care.
And by the way,
Stephanie.
Planned
That's
Parenthood does
a complete falsehood.
only a tiny percentage of what Planned Parenthood does is abortion. You're stopping a lot of women from getting all kinds of care.
Where's your evidence for this idea that abortion somehow is medical care that will save a woman from bleeding out? Where's your evidence for that?
That what?
That abortion is somehow necessary to save a woman from bleeding out. That's what you keep saying this. Where's your evidence
It's
for that?
happening in state after state
Give me
after.
an
Come
example.
on,
It's not-
Lila.
it is not happening.
Turn off Fox News. Turn on some real news for a chance, for a change.
You like Fox?
It is happening all over the country. What's that?
You like Fox News?
Well, I kicked Sean Hannity's ass a few weeks ago. Anyone see that?
So you keep saying we need abortion. This is your argument. You need abortion because women are dying without it. We work with thousands of medical professionals through APLOG. It's the Association of American Pro-Life Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and they say that it is not medically necessary to end human lives in the womb for medical treatment. You can love both the baby and the mother. You can care for both. The Dublin Declaration, which is thousands of medical professionals saying you can care for them both. This is what we used to do, is see them both as patients. You don't have to kill the baby to help the mother. You can care for both. What do you think of that? Do you think that would be a good idea if that was possible? To not kill the baby to save the life of the mother, to instead care for them both? Would you support that?
Okay. Lila, we just fundamentally disagree. I do not
Would you
believe
support that, though?
I do not believe that women should be pod people that belong to the government who should control her decisions about her body, her medical decisions. I don't think the government should be in our lives like that.
Okay, so we're talking right now about healthcare, and I'm saying doctors can care for both mom and baby, pregnant mom and baby that's unborn. If they can care for both, would you say that that would be better than killing baby? If there's a medical emergency, a medical situation, to try their best to care for both, would you support that?
I'm
serious.
sorry.
Would you support
I'm not getting what you're asking. Should what?
Okay, so there are thousands of medical professionals who say that abortion is not medically necessary. You don't need to kill the baby, like a lot of doctors say, well, we just have to have an abortion because that's somehow going to help the mother. You can care for both mom and baby. If that was the case, which thousands of medical professionals say it is, do you support caring for both mom and baby instead of taking the life of the baby?
I'm sorry, if the mother doesn't want to have the child, you're asking...
Well, theoretically, in the cases you're referencing, you're saying she needs the abortion medically, right? Is that what you're talking about? She's bleeding out.
There are
You're
many
referring to those
states,
cases.
yes, where it is restricted, where women are bleeding out, where women
And I'm
are going
asking
into
you,
sepsis, where women are not able to get care.
If the doctor could care for both mom and baby, would you want
Do you
that?
support women's choice at all?
Not to kill your baby, no.
Okay. But in everything else, you support a woman's right to
Not to
choose,
kill
right to
anybody.
choose anything, but just not that.
Well, I don't think women should run people over with their cars. They shouldn't kill their babies.
Yes, because that's exactly the same as
Women
abortion.
shouldn't go
my God.
and drive drunk. I mean, there's a lot of things that both
Yes,
women
those are
and
all
men
exactly
shouldn't do.
the same as choosing not to have a child because, oh my God.
Well, when you're pregnant, you already have a child.
Okay. Are we going to the next portion yet?
We do have more time allotted for the open discussion if you would like to continue.
If you're up for it, Stephanie, we could talk about pregnancy resource centers. You seem to say we
We
should
talk about what?
You were saying earlier, I think you're talking about we need to help women more. We need to give them more resources.
Yeah, we have one of the worst we have the worst everything in this country in terms of healthcare, maternal, what's the word?
Mortality rates.
Yes, thank you, mortality. We have, I mean, the worst everything. Child care, maternal leave, all of it. We literally only the right wing seems to only care about the fetus and not the child at all. Don't you think so many more children have been killed by guns in schools? Do you care at all about guns?
I definitely do. I think it's horrible school shootings. Okay. We're 100% aligned on that. Do you think that we should have more care for pregnant mothers so that they have healthier pregnancies, and we should support young families with new babies
Yes.
to help them.
Can
Do
I
you
just
think
ask you?
that's
So
good?
you can't divorce this again from politics. So a
I'm
lot of
asking that
a lot of
because
the Democrats are wearing
the
pins now.
Democrat
They're
Party
wearing
is trying
pins.
to shut
They're
down
wearing
pregnancy
pins
resource centers.
where supporting Renee Good. You know that young mothers should not be shot in the face. They're supporting all of the Republicans wear AK-47 pins. They all wear those AK-47 pins.
Is anyone Republican
is that
here?
pro-life? Is that
Is anyone
pro-life?
Republican here? I don't see any AK-47 pins in this room.
The Congress
anyone
people.
Republican?
The Congress people do.
I've met with a few of them.
I'm
They don't
asking
wear
you,
those pins.
is that pro-life? Is that a party you'd like to call pro-life?
I'm more moderate on gun control. So again, I'm not here to represent GOP, President Trump, or any particular politician. So I've said that multiple times. We're shadow boxing here.
Okay.
It's not very productive.
That
We're here
you
to
are
debate abortion.
largely the party of anti-choice. You just are. You're stuck with that
you
party.
back,
You're stuck
back
with
when
that
the
president
Democrats
and that
were
party.
pro-life, back when the Democrats were pro-life, that used to be a thing.
There is going to be a blue tsunami in a few months in the midterms, and it is because people reject everything Trump and this Republican Party stands for largely on every single issue. He is 1 billion points underwater on every single issue.
What are we here to debate tonight, Stephanie?
I'm telling you, this is the guy that said women need to be punished for having an abortion. That's your guy. That's the
How
head
is
of
he
your.
my guy?
That's the guy. That's the head of your party.
Did you know that President Trump supports some abortions? And that they changed the GOP?
I'm sure he's paid for a ton of
that he
abortions.
changed the Republican Party's platform to allow for some abortions. And I was very upset about that. Did you know that?
Okay.
So we can.
Do you think Donald Trump
change
is paid for abortions?
The topic, I don't know that, but I very much have publicly expressed disapproval and concern when he has supported abortion, and just like I have when
He doesn't
Gavin
believe in
Newsom
anything.
has supported abortion.
He doesn't believe in anything. We used to be pro-choice, and then decided when this Republican Party became so anti-choice, he was going to say he was that. I mean, he has no principles.
Earlier we were talking about, you were saying late-term abortions only happen in very rare cases. I am curious, though, if you have a legal position, because we're here to debate, should abortion be legal? There's been a lot of
Yes, abortion should be legal. Absolutely, it should. This is a how many year precedent? This is a how many year precedent?
Do you think there should be any restrictions on abortion?
No,
Not at all.
not for. I mean, again, Lila, it's such a what's the word? Red herring. This whole late term abortion. Women don't have late term abortions unless there is for the health of the mother or the baby. Unless there is some horrible problem, women don't just go, "Oh, I changed my mind at 7 or 8 months." They just don't. And
So-
you know that.
Stephanie, in a late-term abortion, why should you kill the baby before just delivering the baby alive?
Why should you kill?
You're saying late-term abortion is somehow medically necessary. This is what you seem to be saying. Why don't you just deliver the baby
First of all,
alive
it's a
instead of
tiny,
killing
tiny
them?
percentage, and you know that, and it's always
I'm just talking about
when
your
there
tiny
is something
percentage.
horrifically wrong with the baby or the health of the mother or both.
So let's take those cases. Horrifically wrong with the baby. In the
Right,
case
meaning
where
it's
a baby...
it's not going to survive, and it's going to be horribly, it's going to suffer horribly.
Did you know that 60 to 90% of babies with Down syndrome, when they are detected to have an extra chromosome, are killed in utero, often in late-term abortions? Over 60% of Down syndrome babies.
Lila,
Do you support that?
I don't even know that that's true. Honestly, you people on the right and James O'Keefe, you make
It
up
is
so
true.
much bull, and there is so much bull.
If it
And
was true, would you support it? It is true. It's a fact. But would you support that?
You're talking, I'm sorry, say again, babies with Down syndrome.
Babies who are diagnosed to have Down syndrome are killed at a rate of over 60% in this country when they're diagnosed with Down syndrome, often in late-term abortions. Do you support that?
You don't know that they're late term. Again,
They're often at 20 week
There are
mark is when it's
laws. There
determined.
were laws in every state about at what point
Do you support
you
that
can't have an abortion. There are already laws on the books that you can't have late term abortions in many, many states. So if it is a choice because the child's going to be profoundly disabled early on when it is legal, yes, I support that.
Do you support...
Of course I don't support,
Do you support aborting Down syndrome babies?
Do I support what?
Do you support aborting children with Down syndrome?
If it is in the period that it is still legal, and that is the choice of the parents, then yes. I mean, there are already laws on the books, and you
It's
know
really sad.
that you can't do abortions after a certain period in every state. So you're
let's
trying
go back
to conflate these two issues.
Let's go back to what you were saying
people at
about-
8 months are going, oh, I don't think I'm going to like this. Let's kill it. That's not happening, Lila, and you know it.
You're wrong. It is happening. When it comes to late-term abortion, you're saying, well, they're just happening because the baby has a severe disability. If someone has a severe disability, should that mean a death sentence?
It should be the choice of the parents if
What
it is
about when
in
the
the
baby's
legal
born?
if it's in the legal limits that obviously exist in every state.
But I'm
Lila.
saying you're the
This
queen
is
of the
just
world here. You get to decide the
This is an
policy.
idiotic argument, honestly. No offense to you, but this is. Are we almost done? Because I'm almost done. I've literally. Sorry. I know. I appreciate you inviting me here, but this is. I think we've done enough. How long do we have?
Would you like to move into your concluding statements?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I honestly, Lila, these are not good faith arguments. They're bullshit arguments, and you know it. It is a tiny, tiny percentage
What's not good
of
faith,
people
Stephanie?
that have late-term abortions,
So
and
I'm
it is always it is
And we're talking
always
about
because
that
of
percentage.
the baby and the mother's health. It is not nobody, Lila, is going skipping to the doctor at 8 months, going, yeah, we just changed our minds. You know that's not happening. You're trying to make a bad faith argument to make pro-choice people seem callous, and they're not.
So I never said anyone's hop skipping. So you're putting words into my mouth here. What I'm asking you about is the fact that those that have late-term abortions, there's often diagnoses you're describing where there's an issue with the baby, sometimes Down syndrome, or there's other disabilities. And many of these babies, and you're talking about specifically late-term, are killed before birth. They're killed prematurely. And you're defending that, it sounds like. You're saying that's okay in your view. And I'm asking you, why not let the child live and be born alive instead of be killed in utero?
That shouldn't be your
We're not giving
choice,
them the
Lila.
right.
It shouldn't be your choice. It's not your business. It's not the government's business.
And what's the difference between a child who is born who has severe disabilities? Should they have legal protection from the government to be killed? What if their parents say they're a huge burden? I don't want to have them anymore.
Again,
should they be allowed to live?
bad faith argument.
How
Of
is that bad
course,
faith?
nobody is for killing children after they're born, and you can't
That's
go, oh,
not
what's
true.
the difference?
Peter
Like,
Singer, who's a philosopher from Princeton, supports infanticide in the early term after birth. So he has a period of 3 months where he says if there's a disability, these are these exact cases you're talking about, Stephanie. He says if a baby's born in the first 3 to 6 months and there's a severe disability, then the parents should be allowed to euthanize them. A post-birth abortion.
Okay, I'm not for post-birth abortion.
That's good.
It doesn't happen. Donald Trump is a liar, and I don't even, okay. I got to get up at 3 in the morning to do my radio show, so let's wrap this up.
Okay, thank you both. We will now move into concluding statements, which will be 5 minutes.
And by the way,
for
you
each
were
speaker.
late today, which is, you were a little late term. Just kidding. Okay.
Stephanie, you will begin with 5 minutes, and Lila, you will conclude afterwards with 5 minutes. After our concluding statements, we will move into our final period of student Q&A. We will have volunteers approaching the front of the room, and we'll begin after the closing statements. Thank you, Stephanie. You may now begin your concluding statement.
Can I just cede my time to her? I have nothing left to say. I don't know what else to say that would convince anybody. If you think this is a pro-life party and you cannot divorce it from the rest of the politics going on in the country right now, I'm sure you guys are watching. Why do you think there are, literally hundreds of thousands of people in cities all over the country protesting a mother that she had her 3 kids orphaned by being shot in the face? Like, we just bombed a country and killed 80 civilians and kidnapped their president, and for nothing. The oil executives are like, yeah, it's uninvestable. We don't even want to steal their oil. There are war crimes happening every day. There is a cover-up of child rapists in this country that is ongoing. They are breaking the law, protecting people that rape children, which I think you should care just as much about, Lila, as this issue. There are so many atrocities going on, I can't even keep track of them, and I have to talk about this every day for a living. So, and I don't know if, now that Roe v. Wade is overturned and they're all celebrating, that, marriage equality might be next. So not my choice. I don't get to marry who I love. That's going to be the government's choice. Going to be the government's choice of when you have a baby or when you don't. That's not my America. That's not the America that I know. And, I think single issue voting is kind of what's gotten us into this disaster. My father was a prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials. I don't know if you've seen the movie Nuremberg. Watch it. I urge you to watch it, because that is what's happening. And this is what, the Remy Malek, the main character, plays. He said, my father interrogated Goering, like he interrogated Goering. And he said, if you don't think this could happen in America, you're crazy. I mean, and it is the enablers. It's the Kristi Noems and the Marco Rubios and the, Pete Hegseths and Stephen Millers. What's his name? Pee Wee German. I mean, there is what enabling this fascism to come to America. So I'm sorry, fascism coming to America is a little bigger than just this issue. And by the way, Nazis killed everybody. Started with Jews and, started with gays and gypsies and Jews. And I mean, I'm just telling you, they are executing people in the streets of the United States. And if you've not been on social media to watch these videos of ICE every single day, that's where your energy and your focus needs to go. This issue, good people can disagree on this, but we have a country to save, and I urge you to join me.
I would say that we do have a country to save. And I think that the violence that we see increasingly in this country, the disregard for human life, the crass treatment of human life, connects directly back to the fact that we don't protect the most vulnerable. We treat pregnancy like a disease, we treat motherhood like a curse, and we see an unborn life as disposable. And if we can kill 1 million unborn babies in the womb every single year, we should not be surprised when we see violence on our streets. We have to get first things first right. We have to get first principles right. And that first principle is life. It's human life. It's human dignity. It sounds like Stephanie has said she seems to care a lot about human life and human dignity. If you're blind to human life's beginnings and the dignity of life when they are the most vulnerable and the most weak, then we're not going to be able to protect everybody else. It has to start in the womb. So I think we can agree, let's fight for a more just country. Let's call out the hypocrisy or the injustices in both parties. But we have to acknowledge the 1 million children being killed every year by abortion. That's Planned Parenthood's own number. That's not my number. That's from the Guttmacher Institute, the research arm of Planned Parenthood, in their own reports. Over 300,000 of those children are killed every single year at Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, where UCLA medical students go and train in how to kill children at mass volume. Those lives matter. We all started life as unborn children. We mattered then, we matter now. So we're never going to see justice, I believe, in our streets and peace in our streets. We're not going to see a more fair and equitable future if we're allowing the killing of unborn children. And I think there is a tipping point happening. I think more people are waking up on the left and the right. I do think that's true. I think some people are choosing to get very cynical and saying we're all going to hell in a handbasket. And I can understand that perspective. But I do think there's a revival happening. Because the reality is we are made in God's image and likeness. And I just want to end here by just speaking very personally for a moment, because you can be pro-life and not have a faith. You can be pro-life and, not go to mass. But I know Stephanie mentioned earlier that she was raised Catholic. And I think that this is a spiritual crisis we're in. I think even what you were speaking to, Stephanie, speaks to spiritual crisis. We make politics our God. We make politicians our God. We're divided. But it has to start with seeing the dignity of the human person in every single life. That's every life, born and unborn. That's the foreigner, yes, and that's the American citizen. That's every single person has value and is made in God's image. And I think the spiritual revival that needs to happen means that we all take that seriously and we start to ask the question, God, what do you want for me? What do you want me to do with my life? Because every single person here, myself, Stephanie, every person in this room has a purpose. You're made in God's image and you have a purpose on this earth. And I believe our purpose is love. It's to love God and other people. And so I want to urge everyone here as we leave tonight, I know we're going to take questions after this, as we leave tonight to ask ourselves, how can I support a more just and loving country? And how does that start with me? How does that start with me? And I think it has to include acknowledging and rejecting the wholesale murder of our unborn brothers and sisters in the womb, and being unapologetic in speaking out against it, not because of politics or political lines. Both parties often get it wrong on this issue. We should be the ones standing up and having a revolution of love to stop that and to set both parties right, and to say we have to defend the most vulnerable, because a child is the least of these, and they're made in God's image, and they're made for love. And so our posture, I think, going out of here has to be, God, what can I do to serve and to love other people? How can I stand even for what is just, even when it's unpopular? And the last thing I'll say is I do think it has to do with sexual ethics. I think there has to be a return to understanding God's plan for love, that we were not designed to just hook up. We're not designed to see sex as just something that we do, that's just some recreational activity. But like Stephanie was saying earlier, sex is designed for procreation. It's designed for pleasure and procreation. And if we try to sever the two and say that, well, I'm just going to have sex for pleasure whenever I want, however I want, yeah, we're going to have the abortion crisis. 9 out of every 10 women who have abortions are unmarried. But instead,
sex is not for procreation for me, but anyway.
If we put
it's only dirty if you're doing it right.
If we put sex back in its place of lifelong love and commitment, open to children, any children that may come from that, then we can eradicate abortion virtually overnight. So I think it's a radical choice for us to stand up, to speak what is true, to pursue justice, and to say yes to the design for love. Love designed to be in marriage, sex to be in marriage, where children can be protected, loved, and cared for. So that's my encouragement to all of us here tonight. Let's create a more just and loving society for everybody, including children in the womb. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for your concluding remarks. We will now be moving into our Q&A period. The mic will be open to the audience to ask Lila or Stephanie a question, and you may begin lining up in the middle of the room throughout this segment. If you would like to ask a question, please state your name before asking. For every question asked, both debaters may respond, even if the question is directed to only one of them. And as a reminder, please remain respectful and ensure that your question is a sentence, not a statement, and ends in a question mark, and is related to the topic of our debate tonight. Then please make sure to take your seat afterwards, and follow-up questions may be permitted. You may begin lining up in the middle of the room if you have questions for either of our speakers tonight.
Hello, thank you both for being here. You guys touched on it a little bit, but just to put a fine point on it for both of you, Ms. Rose, do you believe that abortion should be illegal at all times for all reasons with no exceptions? And Ms. Miller, do you believe that abortion should be legal at all times for any reason with no restrictions? And how practical is this to achieve politically and legally?
Absolutely, yes, it should be illegal, 100% at all times for any reason. The direct and intentional taking of an innocent human life should always be illegal. And I think that right now it's rough. There's a lot of people who are misinformed. There's a lot of scare tactic stories. Stephanie was mentioning some of them earlier. She didn't mention a specific one, but saying, oh, all these women die without abortion. There's a lot of lies being told. But I think that minds and hearts are changing, and I've seen it personally, and I see it every single day. Minds and hearts are changing on abortion. And I think there will be a day when both political parties are pro-life. I think that day will come. But it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of courage, and it's going to take us getting up again and again and setting the record straight and speaking up for those that have no voice.
How practical would
That is barbaric, I have to say. No, of course there should be restrictions, and there are restrictions already in many states. And so, you know, that's again just a red herring. It's a bad faith argument.
What should be the main restrictions in your opinion?
Well, they're already in every state is a restriction for, you know, after a certain amount of time, you know, when the baby is viable outside of the mother. And so, you know, I think it is absolutely barbaric to force anybody. So that includes a 13-year-old that's been raped by her father and, you know, doesn't matter if, she's going to bleed out and get sepsis. It's barbaric. That's not the society we want to live in.
Thank you.
Hello, Stephanie and Lila.
Hello.
My name is Marlon. I'm an only child to a single mother. I contemplate the reality of that I could have been aborted, that my mom wouldn't have decided to have me. So my question is for both of you, what is your answer, if you will, to single mothers who are contemplating abortion?
My answer
Single
is
mothers that what?
contemplating abortion.
Contemplating abortion.
You deserve help and care and support. And I want to help you. I know people that can help you. You're not alone. You might be told by Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics, oh, just have the abortion. That'll do away with your problems. But there's people who want to help you and love you and take care of both you and your baby. There's thousands of pregnancy resource centers in this country providing free confidential care, giving away hundreds of millions of dollars of free resources. The help exists, and I would want to connect her with that help.
My answer is always the same. It should be the woman's choice, not the government's.
But should she be given resources to choose
It should
life?
be, yeah, if that is her choice, absolutely, we should give her all the support she wants if she wants to have the child. If that is not her choice, again, choice, choice, choice. It is her choice between her and her doctor.
Would you support pregnancy resource centers getting government funding? So
I'm
that
sorry, say again.
Would you support pregnancy resource centers getting government funding so they can help more women?
Pregnancy what?
Pregnancy resource centers that help moms with young children, help her choose life. If she wants to choose life, would you support them getting more money?
I think that's trying to proselytize to people that they should be.
But you just said they should get support if they want to choose
When they go
life.
to Planned Parenthood, they can choose to have the child or not
Does
to have
Planned
the child.
Parenthood provide any resources for parenting?
You want to proselytize with religion and whatever you want to try to force
nothing
her.
about religion.
You want to force her to make the choice you want her to make, not the choice she wants
Stephanie,
to make.
you just said that you want her to have the opportunity to choose life. Did you know Planned Parenthood provides no resources, no diapers for babies, no formula? Planned Parenthood provides no parenting resources. What do they provide? They provide abortion. That's the choice
So
they provide.
you want only centers to be available that force women to have the child, that they don't want to let them
They're
know
not
that there is a
forcing,
choice.
they're helping women choose life. That's what they're doing every day.
Thank you for your question.
I do have a follow-up first, Stephanie. So then, for kids whose parents would have admitted or they would have known that they would have been aborted, that big if, what would you tell those kids if their mother was going to abort them, but they of course ultimately chose life? What would you tell them? How do you feel?
Well, your mother obviously made the right choice with you. I mean, look at you. You're fantastic.
Thank you. So then, I guess another quick
Yeah.
follow-up. Shouldn't that always be the case?
Well, again, obviously you're glad your mom made the choice she made. But again, it always comes back to the same issue is that, I mean, I don't know how your mom feels about it, whether other women should have that choice or whether they all, again, it's why I just don't, I can't even stand this whole thing being called pro-life because this party is not pro-life. They are anti-choice. That's the way they co-opted this issue, as if those of us on the left aren't pro-life. We are very pro-life. But we also happen to be pro-choice.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leo. My question is primarily directed at you, Stephanie. My question was, could you define what life is and why it does not apply to the fetus?
I mean, again, this is an argument. We'd have to go to your philosophy 101 class, right? and have this debate. It's been had for a zillion years, right? But I mean, obviously, that's why the laws have always been what they are. That until it is viable outside the mother, it should be the mother's choice. That has been the law in this country for a zillion years until these right-wing zealots got in charge. And, so, I mean, again, I'm not going to get into an existential debate about, no, I don't believe a clump of cells is a viable human life.
Sorry, quick follow-up. Are you aware of any biological definition of life?
Am I aware of any biological definition?
Non-philosophical biological definition of life.
No, I wasn't paying attention to biology.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Claire. I have two questions, if that's okay. So my first question is, so the pro-life position could arguably be like a pretty large umbrella. So on one hand, we have like the anti-abortion side of pro-life, but as Stephanie mentioned, there's perhaps—
I'm so sorry, I'm not understanding. Can you just talk a little
Yeah, I
slower?
can.
Sorry.
So the pro-life position is quite a large umbrella. So on one hand, we have the anti-abortion, but as you mentioned, we also have perhaps anti-police violence, anti-gun violence, perhaps anti-war. So I was wondering, how do these different pro-life positions, how are they reconciled? Especially because with the abortion debate, there seems to be fundamental differences between where life begins, the viability of the fetus, et cetera, et cetera. So I was wondering, how do these different pro-life positions come together, especially in the topic of abortion?
Yeah, I don't think this Republican Party is compatible with any pro-life position except the anti-choice position. They're not pro-life in any area. I mean, how do you say we're pro-life and you cut pediatric cancer research? I mean, so you can have more ICE agents, shoot young mothers in the face, and orphan kids. This is not a party that is embrace pro-life in any way, except controlling women's bodies, in my opinion.
I mean, I think that you can oppose the violent killing of any innocent human life and do that, and you should do that consistently. So in the case of, you brought the ICE agent many times, and I know this is off topic from the resolution, should abortion be legal? I did a whole podcast episode on this, and they're still doing an analysis of exactly what happened. But if the ICE agent chose to just go vigilante style and shoot someone in the face with no reason, then that absolutely should be prosecuted and is completely immoral and should be illegal, 100%. So whether it is police violence, a school shooting, or the destruction of children in the womb, it should all be illegal. It should all be illegal.
That's not what this Trump administration says. They called her a domestic terrorist and called her a bunch of names before they knew anything, and we've all seen the video.
But Stephanie, you're
and
not
know
being
exactly what
consistent.
happened.
You're not being consistent.
So she's right. It is not compatible with pro-life.
But
there are no positions today.
You're criticizing the Trump administration for your sort of issues that you are passionate about, which you have the right to be. But you're okay with them supporting.
Yes, I'm anti-ICE shooting mothers in the face.
But you're okay with Trump supporting abortion pills? You're okay with him supporting killing babies in the womb? Do you support President Trump doing that?
I obviously don't think it's killing babies in the womb.
So you support Trump supporting the abortion pill. You support Trump.
I support him for prison. That's what I support him for.
But do you support his policy position? Do you support President Trump's policy position?
Oh my God, Lila, I get that
pills?
this is your whole issue, but we have to, as human beings, if you are going to be pro-life, you've got to open up your mind and your heart to other issues than just abortion, because there are massive amounts of killings going on because of Trump in this country and around the world.
I talk about a lot of issues, but tonight we're talking about abortion.
I got it. We've beat that one into the ground. But yes, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, so my other question is kind of about state control, so perhaps more for you, Stephanie. So the dissolution of Roe v. Wade returned, or I guess moved abortion, the responsibility of abortion from the federal government to the states.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of perhaps Republicans or right-wing, that's kind of like a win for I guess, dissolving federal power. But as you mentioned, abortion policies are like state control, federal government control over women's bodies, as your argument. So I was wondering, how is state control defined, and is it related to perhaps the party that's in power?
Well, what happens practically is, some women would have to drive over several states to get care, which obviously has been deadly for many women, whatever you want to say. The Republican Party is always, they started using this states' rights thing back to, defend slavery, that it should be states' rights. But, that is not their goal. Their goal is to outlaw abortion entirely. And,
That's the Republican Party's goal, you saying?
Yes, I think the Republican Party is hoping that...
That is not true, and that's news to me. You just broke some news. President Trump has not supported
That's what
that.
they're hoping for, is that you know, I mean, obviously.
Who right now in the administration has said that they want to totally ban abortion right now?
A lot of Republicans have. Lila, I mean,
But you're talking about Trump a lot. But I just explained to you, Trump actually supports abortion in the first trimester.
How does Trump saying women should be punished? How does that not affect women in every state?
He was talking about late-term abortion. He supports early-term abortion.
Please, okay.
Just a fact.
So I guess
One that we should hopefully agree on opposing.
So just to summarize, in your opinion, it's like there's not really a difference between like federal control versus state control. It just is kind of like the actions of the leaders in power. I guess in terms of the issue, just because my question was like, do you think there's a difference? Like, how do you define state control? Are you talking about like the states or the federal government, or is there just like not really a difference? It's just about like the politicians setting policies, if that makes sense. If not, that's okay.
Are you asking me?
I think I got lost on what you're asking.
If I understand you correctly, you're talking about the difference between the federal government putting in place law to restrict abortion versus states.
Yeah, well, I simply asked this because for a lot of people, the act of the dissolution of Roe v. Wade kind of moving the power of abortion from the federal government to the state's government, but also the big argument for pro-choice is that these Republican politicians at the state level are the ones imposing state power onto the women. So I was just wondering, like, is there a difference between like how is power of the state then defined?
Yeah, I mean, I think the states, so under the 14th Amendment, it's actually, our 14th Amendment says that no state has the right to deprive any person of equal protection under the law. So that's anyone. That should be born or unborn. So it actually is a state's responsibility to protect babies in the womb. And states like California that are not doing that, they're too busy protecting eagle's eggs and condor eggs. They're not protecting babies, and they're allowing abortion on demand without apology for any reason. I would say that they are actually violating our U.S. Constitution. So a state like Texas that is defending life is more in line with our Constitution than the unconstitutional acts of our state, California, that is allowing abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy.
By the way, here in California, I forgot to mention, I destroyed several bald eagle eggs on my way here tonight, and I was super happy about it. Also, I think there's a lot of red states we could get rid of. Who really needs a West Virginia? There's a lot of red states, really. I'm kidding. I just think it should be legal in every state, and women should not have to drive several states to get health care.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew. Hope you both are having a good evening. My initial
Not really, Andrew, but thank you.
My initial question here is directed towards Lila. Before I proceed, I just want to clarify. Earlier in the debate, apologies if I misquote you, you stated that if a woman procures an abortion with full knowledge and intent, she should be prosecuted. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. In this country, in the vast majority of cases, if you are ignorant or duress, which includes threat of your life or your family, you can still be charged with murder, although the treatment to that, so the punishment differs. Do you believe, even if you're under duress or other external factors, that if you procure an abortion, you should still be prosecuted and charged for murder?
I think it'll depend on how states handle murder cases. Like you just said, it will depend on a lot of potential mitigating circumstances, and I would leave that up to the states to make those decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My only comment is yikes. Okay.
Hello, good evening. My name is Mario. I have two questions. One's clarifying to begin with for Stephanie. I just want to make sure I have your argument clear on this. You said earlier, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your stance is that you cannot divorce politics from an intellectual or philosophical or just any sort of issue. You just can't divorce the two. They have to be united. Is that true?
Not today. Not in Trump's America today. With what we're facing, it's people that say, I don't do politics. Politics is going to do you.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, there are so many issues. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the latest polling, but he has lost young voters by a boatload. Donald Trump's numbers with younger people have just fallen through I mean, they are underwater. I don't even know how many. It's extraordinary. I don't think they've ever seen it in polling. And I'm glad for you guys. I'm glad you're waking up and seeing what he stands for and what this Republican Party stands for, because it is wildly out of step with where young people are on every single issue. So, no, I don't think you can divorce politics from, where we are. Even if we differ on one issue, it's a bigger issue. We are losing our democracy.
Thank you. And then for the actual question, so I just, sorry for making a statement, but I'm registered independent, so I'm neither, Democrat or Republican. I think
I'm going to work you over after this. I'm going to bring you to the light.
I think both are doing things that aren't correct. So why, this is a general question, why is it that we as human beings, with rational minds cannot, have open discussion that's not focusing specifically to parties, or politics? Why can we not, with our, intellect, have these types of, open discussion forums like we're trying to have on issues that should be addressed?
Well, one of my producers is 23, and, she just talks about, and you guys too, all you know is Donald Trump. So you can be forgiven for, I would think, being a little cynical, a little pissed about what America has become, what our politics have become, how mean and divisive and coarse. I mean, again, I mentioned that this just yesterday, the President of the United States flipped an auto worker off and told him, "F you." I mean, he is everything we teach our kids not to be. He's a bully, he's mean, he's a name caller, he's cruel. He was coughing, imitating Joe Biden yesterday in the speech. Joe Biden has cancer and has served this country, incredibly well, despite what you may think about him politically or not. And so I think it must be hard to be you guys that all you know is Trump, because America's better than him. America's better than this, and I hope we get back to that.
I mean, I just want to add, I think America should be better than what both parties is presenting at this time when it comes to
both sides
abortion.
don't do it. Both sides don't do it, Lila.
On abortion, the Democrats are far more pro-abortion than Republicans, though they support abortion without restriction and on demand, and they want taxpayer funding of abortion. When taxpayer funding of abortion happens, the abortions go up. There's more babies that are killed, more lives that are lost, and that is unfortunately a Democrat policy. So I think painting this, whitewash picture of the Democrat Party is a mistake. I think you can call out the crimes or the
Well, we
the
can
ills of
talk about
both.
it after the blue tsunami that's going to happen in a few months. But anyway, thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Good evening to you both. My name is Andrea, and I actually have a question for Lila. So the syllogism that you presented at the beginning, or in your opening statement, was that human life begins at the conception, human life is valuable, and therefore it must be protected. However, society oftentimes makes prudential judgments about the value of any given life. For example, you yourself seemed appalled that rapists in some states don't get the death penalty. Society might judge that a criminal should get the death penalty. Well, when a country goes to war, it's willing to accept, even in perhaps a just, defensive war, that innocents are going to die, and it's fine with making that calculus. Why shouldn't, or for example, in the strikes in Venezuela, as Stephanie mentioned earlier, innocents did die, even though the purpose was just to capture Maduro? My question to you is this: why shouldn't the calculus of the practicality of the benefit to society not also be applied to abortion when it is applied in so many other aspects of politics and society?
So first of all, just on the logical syllogism front, I don't think you shared what I had said earlier, which is that abortion, it is always wrong to intentionally take an innocent human life. Abortion intentionally takes an innocent human life, therefore abortion is always wrong. So I just want to make sure that you're asking the question based on what I had shared. Can you re-ask that, what your question is then?
My mistake. So
No
society
worries.
sometimes has to make prudential judgments even about innocent human lives, such as
Okay.
in the case of a war. Why
I see what you're
doesn't
asking.
this type of calculus also apply to abortion?
Well, I think in the case of war, I believe in just war theory. I would apply that as a measure to determine whether a war is just or not. And part of just war theory is it has to be done in self-defense, and it also should not target civilians or non-combatants. So I don't think it is ever right to take an innocent human life. And if the American military or any military is intentionally targeting non-combatants and innocent human lives, I think that's wrong. And we can all speak out against that.
Well, to his point, and thank you for bringing it up, we just killed 80 civilians in Venezuela. He's talking about bombing Iran,
And if we targeted them as civilians,
taking
that's
over
wrong.
Greenland. And by the way, you guys are going to be the ones that are drafted. And so think about that when you're voting about who's the pro-life party. You guys are going to be the cannon fodder for his unnecessary wars, and he's threatening a new one every other day.
An important distinction.
Greenland, on and on. And unnecessary to seize other countries' assets. What right do we have to Venezuela's oil or Greenland's minerals? And he's going to have you die for that, and they're the pro-life party?
When it comes to just war theory and what I support and don't support, if civilians, you just mentioned 80 civilians
He's
killed in
killed
Venezuela.
a bunch of civilians.
If they're being targeted.
He just killed a bunch of civilians in fishing boats.
Let me just finish, Stephanie. If they're being targeted and killed intentionally, that's wrong. That is a war crime. There's something that happens in war sometimes, and it should be avoided as best you can, which is collateral damage, ending the lives of innocent civilians accidentally in the heat of war. That's a tragedy. That's why war is horrific. We should always avoid it as best we can. But there is a distinction between the war crime of targeting a civilian versus accidentally an act that's targeting combatants that takes the life of a civilian. But all of that has to be looked into and examined, and we have to do our best as an American military to avoid taking civilian lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, nobody else get in line. Oh, hi.
Hi, my name is Perla.
And I can stay longer for more questions, too, if Stephanie has to run.
Oh, no. More people are getting in line.
So if you have to go, Stephanie, I understand. I can take questions, too.
No, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Perla. Thank you both for being here today. I think just going back to some of the commentary that you made earlier, Stephanie, about whether or not a fetus is human, I just had some very simple questions. Have your close friends, or you said you had a sister, have any of them ever been pregnant?
Yeah, yes, my oldest sister has 3 kids, and my other sister adopted.
Did you celebrate their pregnancy?
I was little, so yeah, I guess so. My sister's really 20 years older than I am, but yeah.
How did you refer to their child when they were pregnant? As a baby, or as a fetus, or a clump of cells?
Again, I was 5, so I don't think I referred to them as anything.
So if your sister were, or your close friend, to be pregnant now, would you celebrate their pregnancy, and how would
Well, my
you
sisters are in their 80s, so that would really be a party. I would throw quite a party if they got pregnant.
What about your nieces or nephews? If they,
What's that?
Your nieces, if they announced their pregnancy, would you celebrate their pregnancy?
Yes, I get that this is a gotcha question, but I'm not really.
Sorry.
I'm not really God. I get it.
Yeah.
That, yes, of course, you'd be happy. That doesn't mean that I don't think they should have the choice to do whatever they want with their bodies.
Okay.
It just doesn't change because it's my sister or somebody. Every woman should have choice.
Yes. I didn't mean it to be a gotcha question. I just wanted to get back to the foundation to celebrate that life begins at conception.
Say again, sorry.
I didn't mean it to be a gotcha question. I just wanted to get back to set some foundational and objective
Oh, I gotcha.
truth.
No, I gotcha.
Thank you.
Listen,
You gotcha. You gotcha.
I acknowledge UCLA students are clearly smarter than USC students, so.
Stephanie, we're not here to gotcha. We're here to help you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi.
My question is for you.
Oh,
seem
God,
like a gotcha.
really?
Yeah. Sorry. This may seem like a gotcha question, but it's an honest question. Can you give me any statistic, like basic number statistic about abortion?
You know,
like 15% of anything.
I did this last minute as a favor for these guys. I am not a professional abortion debater. I talk about a lot of issues on my radio show. So no, I don't have a bunch of statistics to rattle off for you. I just know my deeply held belief is always that women should have bodily autonomy, and that's never going to change. So yeah, I could sit here and rattle off a bunch of statistics, but I don't do this for a living. She specifically debates abortion for a living. That's her whole thing. I am a comedian. I'm a radio talk show host. I have 6 million listeners. I have sold out comedy tours. I do I talk about everything. Mostly the existential threat that Donald Trump poses to not just this country, but to the entire world right now. It's a little more important than a single issue to me, so.
Okay. Follow-up question. I know you are talking a lot about like videos online and a lot of news, recent news, and I know Lila has done a lot of work showing even like animations of like what an abortion looks like. Have you ever seen like what an abortion looks like,
Yes,
or do you know what?
of course I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And you're totally fine with that, like the
Yes.
late-term abortions?
How many times are we going to have this argument about late-term abortions? Again,
Are you cool
there
with
are
that
laws in every state, and when late-term abortions happen, it is a teeny infant. There's your statistic. Teeny
40,000
infinitesimal statistic, and it is always when the what do you call it? You know, viability of the baby or the health of the mother is involved. So, I get that it's a talking point, but it's just an old one that doesn't work. Sorry.
Okay. Jesus loves you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Can I make a comment here?
Are you sure about that? Have you asked him? Okay.
Yes, yes. Can I just say something really quick? So I hear you. You have a radio show. You're very successful. You've done a lot of commentary on a lot of things. And I think that takes a lot of intelligence to be able to do that. I think that on the issue of abortion, it sounds like you're very strong and locked in. You're like, no, I will support it no matter what. On the issue of abortion, you're very locked in, it sounds like. You're like, no, I'm going to support it no matter what.
Yes.
So so it sounds like, you know, there's nothing that anyone can say, even if they show you facts, research, they maybe debunk stories that you thought said one narrative, but it really says another. The facts are really different than you thought they were. You still would support abortion.
The facts aren't different than I thought they were. I understand your belief. I don't share it. And that's what America should be about.
Yes, but don't you think that facts matter?
Yes, facts matter, and they're all on my side. But yes, go ahead.
You don't have
What's
any
your
here.
question? Oh my God, there's more people in line. Oh my God, it keeps multiplying.
My name is Evan, and my question is directed towards you, Miss Stephanie.
Why me? Why? Look at her. She wants questions. She's sitting here. She's can't stop talking. Okay, what?
So when earlier Lila Rose brought up the abortion for Down syndrome statistic, you responded that you would support the abortions that had happened as long as they were within the legal limit of that state. So my question
I'm sorry,
is...
can you put the microphone closer? Sorry.
Do you want me to repeat
Yeah, no, go
that?
ahead. Yeah, okay, so the Down syndrome abortions,
So you'd stated that you were okay with those abortions as long as they were within the legal limit of that state. So my question to you is, would you continue to hold this position that the morality of these abortions is dependent on their legality if that legal limit was only, for example, up to 4 weeks, or if that limit was abortions being completely illegal? And
okay,
if not,
is your position that any child, no matter how profoundly disabled, the parents should be forced to have that child?
That was just where I got your response from. It wasn't specifically geared towards the disabled aspect of it. But my question is, would you continue to hold the position that the morality is dependent on the legality if that legal limit was
I think
only
it should
4
be the
weeks?
parent's choice, yes. And I believe that, again, there are limits in every state as to at what stage. And again, I don't know how many times I can say this. People are not having late-term abortions willy-nilly. It is always because of the disability of the child, the health of the mother. It is and by the way, it's a profoundly traumatic thing for the parents to go through, and for the government to make it worse, I think is egregious.
Right, I understand. What I'm asking is, from that previous question, I'm understanding that the morality, because you supported it as long as they were within the legal limits, would your morality stance still be dependent on the legality if that legal limit was no abortions? And if not, why the inconsistency, and what should that limit actually be dependent on? If that makes any sense at all.
Can I start to take a nap? Because I have to get up in a couple hours. So let me just lay down for a minute. I feel like I've answered this Down syndrome question now 14 times. I'm not really sure what we're splitting hairs about. I think I get this is what you try to make the left look heartless, like, yes, I'm for killing Down syndrome babies anywhere they are. No, I think it should be the parent's choice. And it is in many states up to a certain level of viability, period.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, God.
Hi, good evening. My name is Talia, and I have a question for both of you. Lila, what is the best pro-choice argument you've heard? And Stephanie, what's the best pro-life argument you've heard?
I can go first. I think it depends on different circumstances of how the argument is presented, because I think if somebody can present it with extra, making it sound more compassionate, like this is the compassionate way to go, where they center it totally on the woman and say that the woman will be benefited by this, and they make that case, I can see how it's very compelling. I think that's why it's really important for pro-lifers to expose that it actually isn't benefiting women, and that women deserve better than abortion, actually. So I would say basically any argument that centers on the woman and claims the woman will be better off, I can see how that sounds really persuasive until you actually obviously start to debunk that.
You know, so like where's the super handsome guy in the UCLA sweatshirt? Where is he? There he is. I can understand his mom's argument, you know, for why she had him, and that's but again, I always come back to choice, is I support how she felt about that, and I support everybody's heartfelt belief in here about pro-life. I support that, but that's your choice. You shouldn't impose your choice on everyone else. Again, as I keep saying, if you don't believe in abortion, don't have one. If you don't believe in marriage equality, don't marry someone of your sex. But we don't get to decide in this country for everybody else. So I respect your you know, pro-life position, but don't impose it on me and everybody else. Not you personally. You seem lovely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I'm kind of nervous. Okay, I just want to say this first before asking my question. I am pro-life, and I came to to ask questions because I have a friend who asked me those questions, and I didn't know how to answer, and I couldn't formulate a question before, but now I can, and I couldn't answer all her arguments towards pro-choice, and I was like, oh, I need help. I don't know how to tell her, hey, it's alive. And I have her questions with me, and I want an answers because I really want to understand more, and I'm so sorry, I'm so nervous.
You're doing great.
Aw, you're doing good. I remember being that age. That was like 6,000 years ago.
Okay, she said, if bodily autonomy means that no one can be forced to donate organs or use their body to sustain another life, and if forcing someone to raise a child they don't want to cause harm to both parent and child, why should pregnancy be treated differently from other cases of bodily autonomy?
That's a good question. I've heard that one many times before. So you do, as a child, right, have a right to parental care. And that extends to unborn babies and born children. So it actually is the responsibility of a parent to use their body to care for their child, period. And if they do child neglect, or they use their body to harm their baby or their child abuse, right, they can actually get criminal penalties for those actions. So it is your responsibility to use your body to care for your child. Now, if you're not able to care for your child, you have some severe reason that you can't care, you can leave your child with somebody else that can care for your child. So there's safe haven boxes, as an example, that are set up, but you still have a responsibility to safely usher that baby to another adult who can care for them. And that's why you can't just leave your 2-year-old in the wilderness because you had a bad day, right? You still have to go, if you want to give up care of your 2-year-old because you just are overwhelmed, you can legally do that, but you have to do it in a certain process to ensure that that 2-year-old is cared for.
Okay, thank you. I have another question, and that actually is for you. It's because my friend also gave me the argument of, it's because I told her about like my mom and stuff, and the thing is, she told me, I don't know how to formulate that question. I'm so sorry, but she said that if she's a woman, so she was like, if I'm a woman and I have a choice, if I have a choice to like make any choice that I want, and I want to finish my career, I want to be this, and this. And if I end up hooking up with someone and then I end up pregnant, does that mean I should be forced to have an abortion just because? Should I be forced not to have an abortion when I really want to continue my education and continue growing in my career? Actually, it's for both of us, for both of you. I also didn't know how to respond to that, so maybe help.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what the question is.
I think you're saying your friend said, if I get pregnant, let's say I have sex and I, wasn't planning to be a mother, I didn't want to be a mother, I get pregnant and I want to do my career and other things and I don't want to have the baby, I should have the right to have an abortion. It sounds like that's what your friend said. And obviously that is an argument. That's an argument Stephanie has made. If I want to do what I want to do, I get the choice no matter what. I am supreme arbiter of life or death over human beings provided
by the way,
there in my womb.
if your choice is
and I
to
think
give
that's
it up,
a wrong
to give
position. You're not the supreme arbiter of life or death.
Again,
You
if
have
your
the right
choice is
care
to
for
give it
other
up for adoption,
vulnerable
that's
people.
another perfectly valid choice. But again, the word is always choice. It comes back to choice. It should be the woman's choice.
Do you think some choices are better than others?
Yes, you do.
Do you?
I think women should have all choices.
But do you think some choices are better than others?
It depends on the woman, Lila. It depends on the woman. I mean, yeah. Anyway.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mia. I have a question for both of you.
You're a tiny baby freshman? Oh, she's barely viable. Look at her. She's tiny.
I'm actually a junior. I just transferred, but I find that disrespectful.
You what?
I'm actually a junior. And
I thought you said you were a freshman.
I said my name is Mia. I have a question for Lila Rose first. My question is I believe that abortion is really straightforward, like it's murder and that's it. But why do you think that there's still many people who believe in God that believe that there should be a choice? Like, why do you think that it's so controversial to say that you believe abortion is murder? Like, why do you think that it's gotten to that?
Because we've been brainwashed by decades of feminists and pro-aborts. That's what it is. I think we've had people saying for the last 50 years, your entire education, the people in this room, and even mine, was people who believed like Stephanie, who said, it's fine, your choice, your body, you're right, do whatever you want, it's completely your choice, when it was never just your choice. There's a baby and their lifetime of choices that deserve to be respected. So we've been brainwashed relentlessly. Here at UCLA, I was brainwashed by my professors. Pro-choice, all the way, all day. Like, professors would bring this up in classes that had nothing even to do with abortion. It's a relentless argument coming from the media, academia, et cetera, but that's changing. Obviously, many of you here are pro-life, despite the brainwashing, and we're saying, no, they have a choice too. The child in the womb deserves to live.
Yes, I have successfully brainwashed all of you, and you will immediately leave here and have an abortion. You're getting sleepier.
They're really smart, these kids.
Oh my God. Really? It's brainwashing for women to think they should have bodily autonomy? Oh my God.
It wasn't long ago that most people, virtually all people in the US, opposed abortion. So there has been a relentless campaign via media, academia, and otherwise to push abortion as everyone should support it. It didn't used to be that way.
I think you heard me say I went to USC. I'm not smart enough to brainwash you, but I would if I could.
My question then for you, I don't know how to phrase this question, but I'm confused about what you mentioned, that you mentioned like I'm pro-life, but I'm also pro-choice. Like you mentioned I'm both. And you made a remark that to me, like every time I hear this, to me it's offensive because I'm from Venezuela and I lived there half my life. And every time that, since you mentioned a lot about how important it is, like innocent lives that
are not like unborn yet. Why do you believe that then it's wrong to take out a dictator who's killed so many innocent people in a different country?
I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time understanding. I don't,
Why do you
my
support-
ears are 25 years older, but I can't understand what she's saying. Can you
I
say?
mean, it sounds like you're saying, why are you upset about killing a dictator who's a drug lord who has hurt and killed so many people, but you're not upset about killing an innocent baby in the womb?
Yeah, that's my question.
Who are you talking? I'm sorry. Who is she talking about?
It sounds like you were very upset earlier that we assassinated effectively Maduro, or we haven't assassinated him, we kidnapped him.
No, we haven't assassinated.
We deposed him.
He's a bad guy who belongs in prison, and so is Donald Trump. So yes, they're very similar. But no,
you were opposing the act of the U.S. government to go in and
said we
take
should not
Maduro.
have invaded a country and killed 80 civilians and kidnapped someone and said we're going to steal their oil and run their country. That's just wrong on every level. Maduro's a guy. I'm not saying he's a good guy. What I'm saying is, if you're pro-life, you're not for killing 80 civilians in Venezuela for no reason except saying we're going to steal their oil and run their country.
What about the thousands of, like millions of people that have been killed over there, and the 8 million
Yes,
people
that's
that have
also
to flee from
awful.
that
That's also awful. But on what authority do we invade that country and say we're going to run it and we're going to steal your oil? On what authority?
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, one more. Oh my God. Yes.
Good evening. I would like to first thank you both for being here tonight. My name is Sam, and I'm a third year here at UCLA. I have one question for both of you tonight, and my first question tonight will be directed toward Ms. Rose. Many pro-choice as well as some pro-life people believe and argue that increased access to contraception would be an efficient and effective way to reduce the amount of abortions occurring within our society. Given your Catholic faith, how would you argue against this notion, and what would you say instead be the best and easiest way to reduce the amount of abortions within our society other than illegalizing it?
So separate from my Catholic faith, the fact is that 50% of the women who have abortions, this is according to Planned Parenthood's research arm Guttmacher, 50% of the women who have abortions, when they get pregnant, they are on contraception. So contraception does not prevent abortions. Contraception creates a mindset that you're entitled to have sex without pregnancy, and that if you get pregnant, your backup contraception is then abortion. And that's the reason we have 1 million abortions in this country. So if we want to stop that, I think we need a mindset shift on sex, which I spoke to a little bit in this debate, but we need to stop seeing sex as about just my adult orgasm and whatever I want, and it needs to be more about what's the proper design of sex and what's it for. Of course, it's for adult pleasure, but it's also for love and procreation. And we need to put it back where it belongs in a marriage where there's lifelong commitment. Because if you take sex out of that context, you have a lot of unplanned pregnancy, period. No matter how much contraception there's condoms on every floor of the Arthur Ashe Health and Wellness Center. I know, I went to this school, I went in there and they're like, condoms for all. Birth control is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. There's not an issue with the access to birth control. The issue is with our choices. You talk a lot about choice, Stephanie. It's with our choices as adults. And we have control over our bodies to be able to choose to not have sex or to have sex. And we should not be having sex if we're not ready to be parents.
Thank you. And then my question to Ms. Miller is this. In the beginning of the debate, Ms. Rose articulated that she, along with the majority of scientists, agreed that life begins at the moment of fertilization. From my understanding after this debate, it seemed that you disagreed with this belief. Then, in your viewpoint, where would you pinpoint the exact moment that human life begins?
Again, this is not my one issue that I make a living on. Again, we can have this philosophical conversation forever. I do not think a clump of cells that is not viable outside a woman's body. I very, very strongly believe in a woman's right to choose, and there's just we can split hairs 6 ways to Sunday. It should be a woman's choice. Period.
To follow up with that, you mentioned viability. Given that the earliest preemie baby that was born at around 19 weeks of pregnancy, then would you say that should be the cutoff or that is the moment?
I'm not going to get into, again, I'm not an expert on all this and how many weeks and which state does how many weeks. And I think that's where we get into all the semantics of this, that just get away from the fact that, once again, if you think abortion is wrong, I honor you guys. I honor everybody in this room that thinks that, then don't have one. but do not make the, you don't get to make the choice in America for everybody else.
Thank you.
Sorry. That concludes our Q&A session. Thank you all so much for asking those questions.
And thanks again to Lila Rose and Stephanie Miller for joining us for this incredible event. It's been an honor to have both of you on campus.
Today marks a truly significant milestone for Live Action UCLA. I am incredibly grateful to everyone who helped make this event possible, including our amazing university administration, UCPD, our student volunteers, the Live Action team, all of you who have come tonight, and especially our amazing speakers, Stephanie Miller and Lila Rose. Before we close, just a few quick announcements. Live Action UCLA, UCLA's pro-life student organization, meets 1 to 2 times a month among various volunteer and activism opportunities. If you're interested in getting involved, please speak with one of our board members after the event, or you can follow us on Instagram at Live Action UCLA for updates. If you're visiting, we're so grateful you traveled to be here. This event is just an example of what's possible when students boldly stand up for life on campus. Lila Rose's organization, Live Action, is also helping launch a new movement of campus chapters that are able to educate, equip, and empower courageous young leaders to build a culture of life that honors family, life, and the future of our generation. If tonight has inspired you and you're ready to bring something like this to your campus, Live Action is ready to help you. This is the time to be bold and to be brave. Thank you all once again for being here tonight and engaging in this important conversation. Can we please give one final round of applause for our incredible speakers tonight?